we're going to talk about AI. You know why we're going to talk about AI? Because that's what people should be talking about right now. Many moons ago, we were in the launch of social media. Now, social media, maybe it's dying. I don't know. Thanksgiving just happened here, and that brings this annual peak into the lives of all my friends and family, and I love that about social media. But doom scrolling, things like that, don't love. We'll see how AI changes that and what AI does for us in the future. So that's what I'm here to talk about. We're going to talk about AI. I'm Andrya Allen. I specialize in strategic business intelligence. I am a researcher. I research markets, marketing, business opportunities, and emerging technology, including AI. I am working on my PhD. I hold my master's in communications. I'm a partner at a marketing agency, and I built my own AI tool that specializes in marketing research. So it's a little bit about me and why I'm here to talk to you guys today about AI. So I found a few different topics that there are gaps. People are asking different questions. I'm going to start at the top and then we'll go into more granular areas. So the first topic that people are asking is they just want to understand some of the basics of AI. What is a large language model or an LLM? So recently in November of 2024, I was a co-author on an article published in the Journal of Applied Business and Economics. I'll link that in the description. And in that article, we talk about AI policy for PLLMs. That is private LLMs, private large language models. So what do large language models do? And why is it an important term to know for AI? Well, AIs, when people say AI, they are referencing what we now know as large language models. These are models that are able to understand language, human text, and they're using predictions and kind of a broad understanding of how language works in order to understand text, analyze things, and then share information and be generative. That's when people say generative text. They're talking about how large language models create generative text. So a PLM, a private large language model, is a language model that has been trained on privately owned data and operates and is managed by private enterprise. So this might be a corporation, this might be government, a government entity, or maybe you are training an LLM as a person or as a researcher. So all of these would be private LLM. We studied this because large language models, things like ChatGPT, are now being accessible by the general public. But what most people don't know is that private corporations, private entities are building and using their own. So what does that mean for us? What kind of implications does that have for ethics and data privacy? I think that's why people are asking, what is a large language model? Okay, what else? So one of the subtopics is, what is large language model training and how do I fine-tune a large language model? So fine-tuning a large language model means giving it very specific data in order to help it understand something uniquely yours. So back when I first started Vox Verba, which I created in 2020, I was on the OpenAI beta list, and just like 100,000 other people, I was waiting to get in, but I didn't have the opportunity. And so after a few months, I sent a DM to the founders of OpenAI, and they let me in. So once I got in, the first thing that I had to do as a non-technical founder is hire a developer to fine-tune my own LLM on the back of OpenAI's LLM and fine-tune it on my data. So I had collected data over about a decade, first starting when I was a graduate student, and then on through my career in marketing. And this database was a collection of research that I had done through interviews. So my background is in narrative storytelling, and what I would do is I would take interviews of customers, founders, key stakeholders. So that might also include really great salesperson or a great representative of your voice, someone that really understands who the brand or the organization is, and then do interview or focus group, a way to get their language, the things uniquely part of them in reference to this brand, in a documented way. So what I learned in graduate school is that in order to study something, you have to have a primary resource, an artifact. And these interviews, these focus groups, are artifacts. So using these unique artifacts, I'm able to transform those into something that can be decoded or coded through a lens that we look through. So for me, before AI and language models were available, I was doing this by hand using qualitative science methods, doing a process called coding. Funny enough, we use a tool called SPSS. It's a statistical tool that allows you to take words, phrases, you might call them embeddings in today's digital landscape. These embeddings are entities of topics that you can assign meaning to. So we might take a phrase that is considerate and then assign the meaning of caregiver to it. That's an example of assigning the caregiver archetype to a characteristic and then using the AI to help me understand how do I find more instances of this. In qualitative science, that's called thematic coding. And we look for these embedded meanings to find emergent things, discover things we didn't know were there. That's what I started to use AI for, because I had this huge amount of data and I needed a way to better process it. It was taking sometimes hundreds, thousands of hours, depending on the size of the data set. If we were interviewing hundreds or thousands of people, it was just a massive amount of work to find all the insights in there. With OpenAI, we were able to take this hundreds or thousands of hours of work and then turn it into just minutes. So that made a huge impact on the market research process for me. And that is how I help people understand what fine-tuning is all about. Fine-tuning is how you train an LLM. And one of the most valuable things for AI is when you're able to give feedback to it. Human feedback is how it grows and learns, just like us. So that is LLMs training and LLM fine-tuning. Another piece that is part of this conversation that people often bring up around LLMs is, how do I use a private LLM model? Well, this is what I specialize in. As a non-technical person, I have had a background in project management, product development, and building different apps or solutions for people that have varying needs, whether you're in manufacturing industry and you need an app that helps you make sales proposals, or maybe you're a university that's teaching kids about AI literacy. All these different people and entities need to develop their own privately trained LLM. And so the first way that we start that is we look into, what does the language model need to know and what data do we have access to? Your organization will have access to things like customer data, past history of proposals that you've written, past performance of students. You have these kind of secret pieces of data locked away either in your folders and servers and point of sale systems. And this could be one of the #1 ways that you make an impact and start training your private LLM. So I'll talk more about how do we train private LLMs, give you guys a step-by-step guide, and go into more pieces, how private LLMs are regulated, how to get started with LLMs, and then some actionable basics. Starting with something like, how do I make a company profile using AI? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about using AI to market your business and how to use AI for data intelligence. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Just let me know. Thanks.